Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party start to build a mass following.
September 1939. Nazi Germany invaded Poland.
After one victory had followed another, the Axis forces are out of step.
The wars in Europe and Asia now merge into a single gigantic world war, the largest war in history.
Hi everybody, the year is 1945. Hitler had just lost World War II and the Soviets, Americans and the Brits had taken over Germany.
May 1st, 1945.
The Allies have won.
The war is over.
After 12 years in power and 6 years of war, the Nazi regime has come to an end.
The designated head of the German state signed the act of unconditional surrender of all German land, sea, and air forces in Europe to the Allied expeditionary forces.
The World War had killed 6 million German citizens. Germany was hit by rampant unemployment. Major cities like Berlin and Frankfurt had been bombed, and more than 20% of all housing in Germany had been destroyed. And the German currency was in such a bad state that people were using cigarettes as currency instead of using the German currency.
Germany, 4 years after the end of the Second World War.
This was a life like you can't imagine.
Balanced between devastation and new beginnings.
We looked across the whole town. It was one big pile of rubble.
And just like Germany, in 1947, when the Brits left India, even India was in shatters. 3 million people had died due to the Bengal famine, 2 million died due to partition, and 80% of our population was living in poverty.
As the British left in 1947, chaos erupted.
The India that Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru inherited was that of an economy battered by colonial exploitation.
In India, nearly everyone is hungry, and each year famine claims 7 million.
India was a struggling agrarian economy and poverty was widespread.
But in the next 70 years, while Germany went on to become the third largest economy in the world, India went on to become the fifth largest economy in the world. And now, Modi ji has promised Indians that we will beat Germany to become the third largest economy in the world. But you know what guys, I hate to break it to you that we are far away from Germany. While the unemployment rate in India stands at 8.1%, Germany stands at 3.6%, which is one of the lowest in the world. While our per capita income is $2,730, the German per capita income stands at $54,000. And most importantly, in spite of having 16 times less population than India, while Indian exports stood at $468 billion in 2022, the German exports stood at $1.6 trillion in 2022. So if you see, even though it looks like our economy is growing at a staggering rate, except for GDP, we are far behind in terms of exports, employment and even per capita income. And since India is now on its path to become the third largest economy, as citizens of India, our benchmark to judge the BJP should not be the Congress or Pakistan. Our benchmark must be derived from legendary countries like Germany, Finland and Singapore. And more importantly, it is our prime responsibility to hold the Modi 3.0 government accountable by using these benchmarks. So in this episode today, let's dive deep and try to understand, after the destruction that Germany faced with Hitler and World War II, how did Germany become the third largest economy in the world? What are the most powerful and revolutionary models of governance that turned Germany into one of the richest nations in the world? And most importantly, as citizens of India, what are the lessons that we need to learn from Germany to hold the Modi government accountable? People, did you know that while the German economy is booming, its population is only getting older? This is the reason why there are a lot of opportunities for the youth to build a successful career in Germany, because Germany needs talent at this moment and they are creating a lot of opportunities for the young, a societal system with jobs and even housing. And here's where Leverage Edu is here to help you out. Leverage Edu is India's leading study abroad company that helps students match with the most suitable programs and destinations. They've been working with German government agencies and its universities for many years. And along these years, they've built several exclusive partnerships. Leverage Edu has country-specific experts. So whether that is US, UK or Germany, these experts will provide you with a very personalized and end-to-end assistance. It starts from language test preparation and goes all the way to accommodation and even financing. Everything is taken care by their team. And fun fact is that over 45,000 students have achieved success with Leverage Edu, and you can be the next one. So if you intend to pursue your studies abroad, check out Leverage Edu from the link in the description. And for the first 1,000 thinkschoolers, Leverage Edu is giving a free flight ticket if you are heading out this September. So if you find this useful, check out the link in the description. This is a story that dates back to 1945. During this time, Hitler had just lost World War II and he committed suicide on 30th of April 1945. Eventually, the Nazis surrendered to the Russians, Americans and British forces on 7th of May 1945.
The war is over.
Adolf Hitler commits suicide.
6 years of suffering, sacrifice and death.
The sights and sounds of victory in Europe echo across the Atlantic and around the world.
The General puts his signature to the document which acknowledges the complete defeat of the German armed forces by those of Britain, Russia and the United States.
That the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations.
In the wake of this war, many important German cities were left in ruins. Berlin, which is the capital of Germany, was heavily bombed by the Soviets. The port city of Hamburg was destroyed by bombing, and even the industrial area of Stuttgart was destroyed in the war.
The Red Army smashes its way to the heart of the city. In 18 days, 93 German divisions have been destroyed. 125,000 German civilians have perished in the rubble of the city. 6,000 have committed suicide. Berlin has been virtually annihilated.
So in the Indian context, it is almost like saying Mumbai, Surat, Delhi and Chennai were bombed. So do you realize if we lose these cities to bombing, it would push India 30 years behind, because these cities stand as the pillars of our economy. So the question is, when the most important cities of Germany were destroyed to such an extent, how did Germany rise to become an industrial powerhouse and an export legend? Well, as it turns out, the majority of the German trade and export were not coming from cities like Berlin or Munich. It was coming from the small and medium-sized businesses which were spread all across Germany, as in even in the tier 2, tier 3 cities of Germany. These companies are a special category of companies called Mittelstand companies. And here's why, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to show you something absolutely mind-blowing. If you visualize the industrial hubs of India on the map of India, this is what it looks like. If you see, the industrial output of India is coming from a few pockets of the country, while the rest of the country is far, far away from growth or is engaged in agriculture. But if you look at the map of Germany, this is what it looks like. Do you see these red dots? Every red dot represents a world market leading company, and the bigger red dots represent a cluster of 45 market leading companies. Now mind you, these are not market leaders in Germany, these are market leaders in the entire world economy. So they are world market leaders. Each of these companies export products all across the world and they are market leaders in the world. For example, there's a company called Maya Werft, which is a world market leader in building cruise ships, which generates a revenue of $898 million and has a market share of almost 50%. Then there's a company called Ableton that makes electronic music mixing software and hardware for DJs. And again, it is a market leader with a market share of 54.27% in the entire world. And Tetra is a market leader in a niche market of ornamental fish food. Now you tell me guys, can you think about Indian companies that are world market leaders? It's quite difficult to think, right? But you know what guys? Germany doesn't have one or two world market leaders. Just as of 2014, Germany had 1,400 world market leaders, which were Mittelstand companies. And all these companies come together to contribute to the export superpower of Germany. So the question is, while on one side, Indian companies are struggling to compete in India against the Chinese products, then how is it that these German companies are becoming market leaders in the entire world economy? Well, this is because, ladies and gentlemen, the Mittelstand model operates with 4 common business philosophies, and each of these business philosophies are very practical and can be applied by every entrepreneur very, very easily. So, let's understand them better. Firstly, Mittelstand companies are hyper-specialized companies that produce just one type of products for a very long time and then they diversify. But they produce these products in such high quality that they go on to become unbeatable in the world market. And this is something that has been a part of the German DNA for centuries. And there is actually a funny story that before World War I, the Britishers passed an act called the Merchandise Marks Act. And this act made it compulsory for German products to be labelled as made in Germany. Because the Brits thought that people would see these inferior quality German products and the German trade would suffer. Eventually, the Britishers will be able to trade better and they would be able to make more money. But guess what? These German products were of such high quality that made in Germany became a trademark. And soon enough, German companies started charging a premium of 20% because of this reputation. This is the power of hyper-specialization and high-grade production. In case of Mittelstand companies, you will see hyper-specialized companies like Mannekes that only make charging apparatus for electric vehicles. Then there's a company called Electrisola that makes just wires. But they make such high-quality wires that they used in Mars rover. Secondly, 85% of these Mittelstand champions are B2B businesses. Why? Because B2B businesses by nature have three very critical attributes. Firstly, in the B2B business, customer acquisition is based on value, whereas in B2C, it could be based on marketing gimmicks. For example, if you're selling a fridge to a consumer, you can use gimmicks like voice control, give it a fancy door, and get Shah Rukh Khan as your ambassador, and the fridge will start selling like hotcakes. But when you're selling a refrigerator to a business like a restaurant, your product has to be top-notch. You need to provide powerful cooling, you need to provide huge space, you need to make sure that the refrigerator is energy efficient, and most importantly, it has to function without any glitches. Because if the refrigerator doesn't work and spoils the inventory on a Friday evening, it would be a nightmare for the restaurant owner. So in the B2B market, value trumps gimmicks. And here's why, ladies and gentlemen, the Mittelstand companies utilized their quality proposition. If you look at companies like Liber, they specialized in fridges and freezers for the longest time, and they provide high-grade specialized pharmacy fridges, medical fridges, and even commercial fridges. And just by selling fridges, they made 1.1 billion euros. This is the power of hyper-specialized B2B business. Secondly, in the B2B space, the benefit of a discount comes at a very heavy cost. And this again helps you command a premium. And here's an example to help you understand the same. Let's say you run a sneaker company and you have two payment gateway options. One is a reliable branded software that costs you 2% of your order value, and the other is a less reliable software that costs you 1.5% of your revenue. Now let's say you choose the one with 1.5% fee so that you can save up on this 0.5% cost. Now imagine this, guys. After you ran ads for 10 lakh rupees on Instagram, 1000 customers paid for your product, the customer's money got deducted from their account, but your payment gateway never registered the sale in the first place. Which means your inventory does not get shipped to your customers at all, even after the money got deducted from the customer's account. Now, do you realize as a business owner what kind of a nightmare this would be? After spending lakhs of rupees, instead of having 1000 happy customers, you will now have 1000 haters who would consider your company to be a scam. So do you realize this 0.5% discount comes at a very, very heavy cost when it comes to B2B products. So in the B2B space, if you build a super reliable, easy to use and efficient product, even if you charge a 20% premium, customers will happily buy your products because the risk of a 20% discount for the client is much higher in the future. In this case, even if the payment gateway costs you 3% of your revenue, you would still opt in for it because of the nightmare that you experienced. And a classic example of a high-stake B2B business is SAP, which stands for Systems, Applications and Products. And this company since 1972 has been focused on helping businesses manage their systems better. That's it. And just a few years into business until today, they have been such a critical backbone for billion-dollar companies that today most of their clients can't imagine their life without SAP. And guess what? By capitalizing on this niche B2B market, today SAP generates a revenue of 31 billion euros. And thirdly, in the business-to-business space, because you provide such high value, your customers will stick with you for a very long time unless you mess up really badly. So the customer lifetime value is very, very high. These are the superpowers that a business-to-business client brings to the table. And all of these things put together, it gives the German MSMEs three incredible superpowers. Number one, since their customers stick with them for a very long time, they have a very consistent cash flow, which eventually gives them constant profits. Number 2, these profits are then invested heavily into research and development, which further helps them build great products which are better than the competition. And lastly, when you have consistent cash flows, you can retain and build a formidable team even during a recession. This is the reason why, as time passes, German Mittelstand companies become more and more powerful with their products. And cherry on the cake, 71% of the Mittelstand champions are located in small towns of Germany, which have a population of less than 1 lakh people. So you know what happens? Instead of millions of people trying to cram into the economy of a city like Mumbai, the entire population of Germany finds opportunity not just in Berlin or Frankfurt, but even in the small towns in Germany. And this is where, ladies and gentlemen, the Mittelstand companies achieve a virtuous cycle. Number 1, because of great products, B2B clients stick with them for decades. This gives them consistent cash flow and profits. These profits help them retain talent and invest in R&D. And eventually, consistent research and development helps them build the best products and services in the world, which again gives them very heavy profits. Now, after listening to all of this, a lot of you will tell me, bro, all this is very easy to say. But the question is, how did the German government help these Mittelstand companies become so successful, and why are Indian companies failing? Well, the first and perhaps the most important thing that the Germans did very well is establish a very strong industry-academic connection. So, let me help you understand the difference between Indian engineering and German engineering education, and you will understand what this means. People in Pune University, engineering students have to submit something called the BE project in their 4th year. So after studying 40 subjects over 4 years, you have to pick one subject that you intend to specialize in, and ideally, you are supposed to apply your knowledge to solve a real world problem. For example, in India, there is a dire need for an efficient waste management system. So ideally, a group of 4 civil engineering students are supposed to collaborate and spend their entire 4th year under the guidance of a professor who would guide them into research and solving a real world problem. So they are supposed to visit different waste management plants, talk to businesses, research and find gaps in the market, design different solutions, and apply those solutions eventually to fail and succeed in designing a better waste management system for India. And eventually, after going through this iterative process, by the end of the year, they are supposed to present a thesis of around 100 pages, which consists of a detailed analysis, experiment results, and proposal of a new solution to the waste management problem. So this way, Indian engineers are supposed to apply their knowledge to become better problem solvers. But you know what happens in most of our engineering colleges? Firstly, the professors are incompetent because they themselves have never solved a real world problem. Secondly, our students are loaded with so many stupid assignments and an outdated syllabus that they spend all their time copy pasting useless information from one file to the other. And thirdly, because of a stupid rule of compulsory 75% attendance in lectures, the student does not find any time to go for site visits at all. So you know what the students from our batch did? They simply copy pasted their research materials from random research papers from the internet and compiled them together. Eventually, they submitted that to the university. Now, since the professor herself is incompetent, lazy and ignorant, they simply drop a signature and pass the candidate. And by the way, if the professor holds a grudge against the student, then the professor will over-scrutinize the project and torture the student until the professor is satisfied. And if you don't want to go through this hassle, you know what you can do? You can simply buy an engineering project for 10,000 rupees in Pune. In fact, there's a shop in Pune which will give you a catalog of BE projects which you can buy and submit to the university. So you don't have to solve anything or take the hassle of researching and developing engineering solutions at all. This is the reason why even after 4 years of education, the engineering students of India remain a bookworm with no practical skills at all. In fact, according to Skill India report of 2024, more than 35% of our BTech students were unemployable, almost 30% of the MBA students were unemployable, 60% of the ITS students were unemployable, and more than 75% of our polytechnic students were unemployable. Now mind you, these are not unemployed students, these are unemployable students, which means even if these students are offered a job, they cannot take it because they don't have the skills for that particular job. But you know what happens in Germany? German universities have established robust partnerships with industries all across the country. And these partnerships are not just about providing internships or job placements, they are about a deep integration of academic learning with real-world challenges. For example, the Technical University of Munich has has partnered with companies like BMW, Siemens and Airbus. And these companies actively participate in shaping the curriculum, offering guest lectures, sponsoring research projects and providing state-of-the-art equipments and facilities to the students. So while Indian engineering students waste their time copy-pasting assignments and studying an outdated syllabus, a German student is acquiring those skills that are specially needed in companies like BMW, Siemens and Airbus. Similarly, BMW might even present a challenge to the TUM's engineering students. For example, BMW might challenge the students to develop a new lightweight material for manufacturing electric vehicle batteries. And then the students work under the mentorship of both TUM professors and BMW engineers, and they get to experiment, prototype and test their solutions by applying their knowledge. Eventually, while an Indian engineering student is copy-pasting random information from research papers, a German student is building a strong thesis on how to build lightweight material for EV batteries. And after the project is done, while an Indian engineer struggles to find a job, a German engineering student gets a job in BMW itself. And while Indian companies struggle to hire good engineering talent, Mittelstand companies get access to great talent because of such collaborations. As a result, while Indian companies produce mediocre products, German companies end up building world-class products, eventually leading to better exports and hence better income for both the German people and the German economy. This is the power of German education system. And here's why, ladies and gentlemen, I have an important message for the Modi government. If you look at how much India and Germany spend on education, it will blow your mind. In spite of being a $4 trillion economy, Germany spent 4.6% of its GDP on education in 2023, whereas in FY23, India spent only 2.9% in education. So do you realize what this means? India has a population of 140 crore people and Germany has a population of 8.38 crore people. If you do the math, while India is spending $81.61 per person, Germany is spending $2,195.7 per person on education, which is 26 times as that of India. So you tell me guys, in this fast-paced, technology-driven world, if we have such an incompetent engineering education system and we spend so little on education, how are we going to beat China or Germany? And it is so sad to know that if this continues for the next 10 years, we have to say goodbye to becoming an economic superpower. This is the second reason why Germany has become an economic superpower while we are still dependent on China. And this is something that the Modi government desperately needs to work on, which is increasing our education budget and increasing the quality of our education. If this is very clear to you, let's come to the last and perhaps one of the most amazing government policies in Germany, which is their unemployment insurance plan. And this is all the more important for India because under the Modi government, unemployment in India has reached dangerous levels. But if you look at Germany, it has a strange superpower. If you look at this graph, you will see that in 2020, this is what the unemployment in the US looked like. As soon as the pandemic hit, the unemployment skyrocketed. But if you look at Germany only experienced a minor bump in unemployment. Fascinating, isn't it? But again, after the Russia-Ukraine war started in 2022, it had such a drastic effect on the German economy that in 2023, the real GDP of Germany declined by 0.2%.
Germany's economic advisors slashed their growth forecast for the country.
Germany's leading economic institutes have revised the country's growth this year down to basically near stagnation.
Germany is taking an economic hit due to vastly increased energy bills caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
But again, in 2023, while Italy saw their unemployment rate touch 7.5%, France stood at 7.4%, Spain hit 11.9%, whereas Germany's unemployment rate was at a record low of just 3%. So the question is, even during the worst recession of the decade, how is the German market so resilient? Well, this is because of a German government policy called the Kurzarbeit. In this program, instead of resorting to layoffs during economic downturns, companies are encouraged to reduce employees' working hours. And to support workers during this reduced work time, the government steps in to provide a significant portion of their lost wages. And this action gives the German economy an instant advantage over American economy. So let's understand this using an example. Let's say there is a large automobile manufacturing plant in Wolfsburg which employs 2,000 workers. But due to a global recession, the demand for new cars has plummeted by 50%, which has forced the plant to reduce production. Now, while most American companies would simply lay off 20 to 30% of their workforce, this German plant decides to implement Kurzarbeit program. So the government approves their application and allows them to reduce their working hours for all employees by 50%. So now, instead of working for 48 hours a week, the employees will work only for 24 hours a week. And for these 24 hours that they work, the workers would receive their full salary. But for the next 24 hours of wage which they lost, the government would compensate them for about 60% of their lost wages. So for the next 6 months, the company only has to pay 50% of the salary to the employees, while the government pays the employees 60% of their lost wages. So if somebody makes 3,000 euros, the employer would pay 1,500 euros and the government would pay them 720 euros. So in total, they would make 2,220 euros as compared to 3,000 euros. And this arrangement, ladies and gentlemen, brings three superpowers to this MSME ecosystem. Firstly, the jobs of the workers are safe, so the family doesn't have to live in stress. Secondly, since the workers are still getting a major chunk of their salary, they would keep spending that money into buying groceries, personal care products and household items. So again, the revenue flows to these FMCG companies, which again helps them retain their employees. And last and most importantly, since the plant maintains its entire skilled workforce, after 6 months, when the demand for cars shoots up, while the American companies struggle with hiring, training and deployment of new workforce, the German companies ramp up their production without any delay because they never let any skilled worker go. So the German factories are always up for production, the German employees are always safe and the German economy is always booming. This is how the Kurzarbeit program prevents a shock to the economy and the job market even during the times of recession. Now you might tell me, bro, what are you saying? This is like giving freebies now. So just like Congress promised to give 1 lakh rupees a year, here the German government is paying the salaries of millions of people. So are you saying that the government must pay the salaries of these people using the tax-based money? Well, guess what? This money in Germany is not coming from the tax base of Germany, it's coming from the employees and the companies itself. Long story short, if you make 3,000 euros a month, you would contribute 1.2% of your salary and your employer would contribute another 1.2% per month to the Kurzarbeit fund. And just like insurance, when you lose your job, you will get paid 60% of your lost pay by the government. So it's not a freebie, it's an economic masterstroke which keeps the economy running even during the times of recession. This is how, ladies and gentlemen, by building a robust ecosystem with great education, great welfare system and a great culture of producing the highest quality products in the world, Germany has built one of the most powerful MSME ecosystems in the world. And more importantly, since these Mittelstand companies are spread all across Germany, the growth of Germany has been very even and not concentrated to a few pockets in the country. And this brings us to the last part of the episode, and that are the lessons that India needs to learn from the rise of Germany using the Mittelstand philosophy. Lesson number 1. The first thing that India needs to focus on is building high quality products and not cheap quality products. Because if we want to become an export superpower, we have to move beyond agricultural products and build high quality electronics and machines. Lesson number 2. To produce such high quality products, we need to empower our MSME sector. And if you look at Indian MSMEs, just like German MSMEs, our MSME employs 100 million people and contributes close to 30% of our GDP and 50% of our exports. But while German companies are building world-class products, Indian companies are struggling with talent, technology and financing. So we need to desperately work on these aspects to empower our exports. Lesson number 3. The Modi government needs to work diligently to fix our education system. And the least we can do is increase our budget allocation from 2.9% of our GDP to 6% of our GDP, which is our Education Commission's recommended level. And unless we fix our education system, even if we bring in billions of dollars in FDI, our students will not be able to apply for those jobs even if those jobs are available. Lesson number 4. While we grow our economy, unlike the Germans who have industrial powerhouses all across Germany, our industrial capacity is concentrated in these small pockets of India. So just like Germany, we need to empower our tier 2, tier 3 cities in such a way that we build an evenly spread out industrial powerhouse for India. And lastly, just like Germany has an unemployment insurance scheme, India needs to have a strategic economic policy that can help the workers prevent this risk of recession. And unlike a Congress proposed freebie policy, it has to be a sustainable economic model. Because always remember, there is a thin line between a freebie and a sustainable economic model. One will drain your economy and the other will boost your economy. So, high quality production, increasing the education budget, improving the education system, expanding beyond agricultural exports, better financing for MSMEs, and the development of the tier 2, tier 3 cities of India. These are my humble suggestions to the Modi government that we can learn from the German economy. That's all from my side for today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button in order to make YouTube Baba happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.